All right, we're recording. So it is
Yeah.
7:02, and we are going to call tonight's meeting of the Oakland Mills Community Association Village Board to order. Good evening, everyone. First items on the agenda are our usual administrative items. The first of which is to approve the minutes from the September 13th, 2022 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting? I see a motion from Warren. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Jerome. Are there any comments or discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as submitted? Okay,
Aye.
4-0-0, Amy. Okay, next on the agenda is we need a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Motion from Warren, second from Jerome. Any discussion of tonight's agenda? All in favor of approving? One,
Aye.
two, three, 4-0-0. All right, we are underway. Next up, we have resident remarks. Any resident wishing to make remarks has up to 3 minutes to speak to the board on any topic. I just ask that you come on video and raise your hand or use the Zoom hand raise feature so I can call you in the order I see you with your hand raised. Anyone for resident remarks? Going once, going twice. Moving right in. We don't have any new business tonight. Looks like it's a relatively light night. Old business. I have one old business item on the agenda, and that's an update on the Howard County Public School System Capital Improvement Program. As you all know, the Board of Education hearing was last Thursday. That was the public hearing on the superintendent's proposed capital improvement program. And the concern of our community was that the superintendent is proposing to move renovations to Oakland Mills High School from a fiscal 2026 start to a fiscal 2033 start. And of course, we approved testimony, which I delivered. Unfortunately, it didn't go as planned. I had to deliver virtually because I was in COVID isolation, but deliver it I did. We had 9 students from Oakland Mills speak out, and if you haven't watched the video, I suggest you watch it because their testimony was, first of all, outstanding, but also very moving and at times very depressing, because they were the ones who could describe firsthand the conditions in the school, some of which are worse than I realized, and they were also the ones saying things like, this isn't even for me anymore. Like, my chance to have a healthy building was gone when you didn't do this in 2009 or 2015 or 2018. This is for my younger siblings. This is for kids I don't even know who will be there, years after I'm long gone. And if you keep delaying this, this is for kids who haven't even started school in this community yet, when you're talking about 2033. So it was very, like I said, both sad and touching to hear their testimony and hear how basically dedicated they were to make this better for people they probably don't even know for the most part, so that they don't have the same experience they had. There were about 40 people in total who spoke. I would say that the vast majority, greater than 3/4, were speaking about Oakland Mills and speaking in favor of putting Oakland Mills back in 2026. Even some of those who came to speak about other schools like Centennial and Dunlogan also acknowledged Oakland Mills and acknowledged that, communities should not have to come, begging and feeling like they have to push other communities aside, to get what they need. Like, basically, take care of us all. So it was, except for one person's testimony, and you can watch it for yourself. I'm not even going to acknowledge what was said. It was all, either for Oakland Mills or at least mentioning Oakland Mills in a positive light as, yeah, they have big needs too. While we're advocating for our school, don't forget them over there. They've been waiting a long, long time for this. There's also another article in the paper. Unfortunately, it's paywalled. I don't know when the Flyer and Times started paywalling their articles, but it is. I saw a screenshot of it, and I think it will be in print in the Columbia Flyer that lands in our driveways on sometime Thursday evening. Just, ironically, coincidentally, there's some kid at Oakland Mills who has the same last name that I do, and she's quoted in the article a couple of times. But I think it's an article that pretty much puts Oakland Mills in a favorable light. There is, I feel like the reporter made one error because there is something in there that says Oakland Mills last had a major renovation in 2005, which isn't quite right. Oakland Mills had an addition in 2005. It didn't have a major renovation beyond bumping the cafeteria out and redoing the cafeteria, but any part of the building that wasn't standing before 2005, other than the cafeteria, wasn't renovated. But you know, so be it. It still acknowledges that the HVAC dates all the way back to 1973, and there's mold and falling ceiling tiles and all this other stuff. So overall, I think the Times Flyer reporter did a nice job in featuring the issues with Oakland Mills High School. In terms of next steps, the board was actually originally supposed to vote on the plan that they're going to put forward at last week's meeting, but they decided to delay that to this Thursday. So there is a work session this Thursday, no testimony. It's just a work session, and they're expected to vote on the plan at this session. So if any of you are feeling inspired as individuals and haven't written in yet, while you can't do any more testimony, you can always write to the members of the board, either individually or as a group, and share your thoughts, or ask if they plan on standing by what they did last year. I know there's a group of students at Oakland Mills High School who are planning to do that. I think they're actually planning to send individual emails to each Board of Education member, basically saying, can we count on your continued support? You came through last year. Can we count on you to come through for us again this year? And then, depending on what happens, we figure out where we go next. If the board does the right thing, it makes our lives a little bit easier, because then we're basically back in partnership with them, advocating for the funds that the school needs so that this project can get started on time in 2026. If it doesn't go in that direction, then we're probably back in a similar position to the one we were in a couple of years ago, where we were talking to people like the planning board and the county executive and the county council about questioning what they're doing before you start funding all these things. The capital improvement plan is supposed to be a list of priorities, and the budget is a request. The budget doesn't get funded until you all fund it and the state matches the funds. So look carefully at what's going on there, and we encourage you to ask questions about what's happening here, because this is happening in your county. And I think it's good that we have a lot of testimony from students at the school. There are also a lot of emails. A lot of emails came in, and a lot of those emails came from students. And actually, I'll send you all a link if you want to look at some of this. Where people wrote in, because it all goes on the record. So I haven't counted all the emails yet, but if 40 people spoke, there's some multiple of that actually wrote in. One Board of Education member's comment said it felt like there was just millions. Obviously it wasn't that, but there was just a constant stream of people writing in about renovating Oakland Mills High School. How could you even consider pushing it back? What is this 2033 thing, that sort of thing. So that's where we are right now. And like I said, there's still an opportunity that you can always write to the Board of Education anytime. You don't have to wait for a testimony window to do that. But the testimony window has closed, and Thursday is just a work session, and we'll have to monitor and see what they do. Any questions on that? All right. In case you're wondering about the other school on that plot of land, Oakland Mills Middle is still sitting there, where it was before for 24. So that's another thing we need to do, right? We need to make sure that we are talking to the county and eventually the state about actually coming through with the funding, because that's money that actually has to start the fiscal year after next, right? So as we get into the budget cycle that starts in December with the county executives hearing, and then goes into the spring, with the county council and the county executive again, and back to the county council, we need to make sure that they've actually set that school up so that the funding starts flowing in 2024. The only other, the one other important thing to mention is obviously our District 2 and District 3 representatives have weighed in on the effort to delay renovations to Oakland Mills High School, as has our county executive, as have members of our Team 13 delegation. And the state has actually is already offering to provide $10 million in funding to help resolve problems at Oakland Mills High School. Now, in the scheme of things, that's a drop in the bucket when you're looking at 100 million plus project, but it's it's nothing to sneeze at. So there's already a commitment of some state money, but the Board of Education has to do the right thing and get Oakland Mills High prioritized in the way in a way so that money excuse me, so that money can be put to use. And even that is being spun by some as a problem. I don't know how $10 million becomes a problem, but some are saying, oh, that's a problem. If the state gives us money now, what will we do? We could put money into a school and then tear out what we do for that 10 million when we go and renovate the school. Well, you know what? Who cares if the school is full of mold and people are freezing in the winter and sweating in the summer? Go ahead and put some money into fixing it as best you can now, and then tear it out and fix it again in 2026 for all I care. I've never really heard anyone complain about having too much money before, but believe it or not, someone in the newspaper seems to be implying that $10 million right now is a problem for Oakland Mills. So that's where we are. Take a read of your Columbia Flyer when it lands on your doorstep, unless you have a paid subscription to the Sun, in which case you can read all the articles online now. Any questions on any of that? All right. Well, that's the end of old business. I guess I'll go right to the board chair report. Well, actually, between being sick the first half of last week and working really hard on trying to get people organized and motivated to testify, there hasn't really been a whole lot else I was focused on. I still haven't quite figured out when Little Caesars is moving. Their sign has been taken down in front of the building. If you've noticed, it's been turned around. So there's no Little Caesars sign, but they're still open and operating. And it's fall, and it said they're moving to Long Reach in summer. So I have no idea what's happening there. I have
Long
noticed
Reach sign
that
says coming soon. I did see that from the road on Tamar. So
okay.
yeah.
I have noticed that Klein has started working on the parts of the village center they own. Second Chance already looks a lot better. I think some of the rotten wood has been treated. I walked by there the other day. A lot of the white paint is starting to look like white paint again. So they are starting to follow through on what Devin said to Sandy and me when we had that meeting over the summer, shortly after they took ownership. So looking for more there. Haven't heard any updates on who's coming into the NYC Pizza, so I might send him a checking in email and ask if he has any updates on that. Back when we met, I think he said it might be like 6 to 8 weeks. So there's still some time, but it doesn't hurt to check in and say hello. Sandy, did anything else happen that I forgot? The past couple of weeks are kind of a blur.
Because I might have to ask Brigida and Amy because I was away.
That's right, you were away. I felt like I was away for part of it. I slept through half the beginning of last week. Lynn?
Yeah.
Has anybody heard anything about the 7-Eleven, what the status is?
No, other than hold on one second, I'm gonna get rid of this chat. Other than the planning board decision, I think that it now they're reviewing it at the
back to
DPZ. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that takes a while because then they have to send it to every department. So
right.
Yeah. I guess no news is good news because they do let us know when there's
I mean,
something.
I think as slow as the schedule is, I do believe it's still on schedule. I mean, they didn't, if I recall, when we asked Bill Erskine about the timeline, they didn't anticipate opening it until like this time next year at the earliest.
Yeah.
They had an extended timeline.
Yeah. They warned us.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. I turned my microphone on. Today I saw a sign that says Salvadorian, I think it was Salvadorian Mexican food restaurant coming soon. So I think that's what.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
okay.
That's what it'll be then. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's
great.
corner by the laundromat, the sign.
That's great because they did say it
cool.
was that type of restaurant and that the person also owned others. So
Good. Thank you.
I think it'd be great.
They must have just put that up because I was there yesterday or 2 days ago, and there was nothing.
Yeah, I looked
It's just
Sunday.
a
Great.
little sign, like,
Oh,
you know, like
okay.
a real estate yard sign, not a real estate
Okay.
yard
Oh,
sign, but you know.
it's not by the restaurant itself? It's not by?
No, it's not by the restaurant. It's by like whatever. I guess is it Thunder Hill, that tease right there?
Yeah, where you come off at
Right.
Yeah,
Thunder
past
Hill.
the ice
Yeah,
rink. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm wondering, I hope that it is for the restaurant, but I know that there's been a food truck parked by the laundromat every other day having Salvadorian and Mexican food. So it might be
Oh, huh.
for that. I hope it's
Mm.
a permanent restaurant.
I don't remember the wording exactly,
Hmm.
but something that I was like, "Ooh, that must be the restaurant."
I may need to go for a walk during
Yeah.
lunch Thursday when I work from home and check things out. It could also be that truck is affiliated with the future restaurant, because a lot of restaurants now also have a food truck so they can do mobile events.
Sure. Or building up their clientele for when
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
open.
Wow. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca.
Interesting. Good.
Um, and I think that is really everything I have to report right now from board chair perspective. Of course, Ginny emailed that she couldn't make it, so we're going to skip over the Columbia Council representative report. And my gosh, we are already on to the village manager report.
And this is going to be a lot of numbers. So just
Sticks.
bear with me. We have to approve the financial audit, then revised FY22 and the revised FY23 first quarter. So I know it's exciting stuff. Just, calm down and we will get there. So here we go. This is, you can all hear me? The audited financial statements, and basically it's numbers, and I can't dispute the numbers. They went over everything with me. Basically, our audit went very smoothly, and the only thing that was noted in it had to do with our year-end finances. We get income at the end of a fiscal year or during one fiscal year that could be a rental that's in the next fiscal year. So it's making sure that everything we get is accounted for in the year that we are going to spend the money. And so one place it said that the checks were not dated correctly. What it is that at the end of the year, I might write a check in the first week of May and let the bookkeeper know, because then she enters it in QuickBooks. I actually write the physical check that was for an expense from the prior year. So what she did was she would date it in QuickBooks is like April 30th, rather than the date in May that I did it and put it in the right year. So it's confusing, but we know now that, she has to just put May 8th, but then it's in the past fiscal year. It wasn't like we changed any check dates on a physical check. So that was noted. And basically any discrepancies had to do with year-end financing and what quarter the accounts payable and receivable went in. But it was nothing of major note, but it was enough to have to redo our financial statements. It's a lot of numbers. And to tell you the truth, I got it when I had COVID and was away too. But I trust the auditors. It's an accounting firm. They spent 3 days with us. In our opinion, we presented everything fairly with respect to our financial position and in accordance with generally standard financial accounting responsibilities, that we are what our goal is. Our management is responsible, and they had no concern that we didn't do everything according to standards. There was no fraud. There were not any errors. That they were assured that there was nothing wrong with how we are doing our financial recording and accounting. So that letter is basically just saying what their responsibilities were as an auditor. The next part is all based on hard facts, numbers, exactly what we spent, how we spent it, and it's just balance sheets of all of that information. And I don't know that anyone wants to dig into it. It's prior year balance sheets. there was nothing that didn't that they had a concern with, other than I said the year end where we recorded things. They have to also look at the expenses and income, looking at what was program and services and what was management. And that's what we basically do in the Form 990. So we have to say, you know, if we spent $1,000 on the festival, maybe 200 of it was management, staff expenses, and 800 of it was supplies and everything else. So, I mean, it's part of what we do with the accountant every year when she does the 990, and it breaks everything down. That's what that is. And that again was all there. We didn't add, they didn't need me to come up with all these numbers. It's based on past financial statements.
Sandy, did you
Yep.
send us a copy of the audit opinion itself? I have copies from Amy and you of the revised statements, but I don't know if we have a copy of the audit opinion that
I
you're
sent it
showing on
to
the
you,
screen.
and I sent you an email with you and Bill, and I said I would be showing everything
Oh, okay.
today. I didn't hear from you, so hopefully you got it. Friday, I sent it. This talks about, and I'll pull it up. There's 3 things I'm going to show you. This is the nature of our operation, the basis for our accounting, what our cash on hand is. We have a certificate of deposit, our assets, our liabilities, significant policies. It just, you know, different levels of liability. I'm trying to get to where the notes, our depreciation, that's the value of our fixed assets. Deferred revenue is the money that we would probably most likely get for a rental or a lease that is paid in one fiscal year, but actually not a payable till the next fiscal year. They looked at all of our leases. They looked at many rental contracts, our advertising. That's basically what we pay the wedding wire, which gets us most of our business. We are exempt from income tax, but we do pay property tax, and then we get a credit back because we're a nonprofit organization. Generally accepted standards. This was kind of a repeat of what was at the beginning. That we conform with accounting principles. That we do what we say we're going to do, uphold the village covenants, promote goodwill between the residents. Certain costs have been allocated between programming and management, which the management is salaries and benefits. This is our end of year cash on hand. We get money from CA, so they account that as a related party transaction. We lease 2 of our facilities to tenants, and all the others are rentals. Our deferred revenue was Columbia pays us in one fiscal year for the other from April, and then it goes into May. So that's our total deferred revenue. The retirement plan is the 401k that a CA administers. Well, we do it, and then but it's through their plan. Don't know what that is. We had no contributions that we make. We have no donor restrictions. We can receive grants. We did receive a grant during COVID, but that has already been repaid. Contracts with our renters. Our annual charge from CA. It's really exciting stuff. leases and revenue, our special events. It's just going through everything that's in our management contract and how we do our financial statements. Trying to see, this sheet is really just numbers. These are our total contracts, lease and rentals, special events, and miscellaneous is probably like the sale of resale documents. And then they will date it today's date if we agree to the financial statements. So that's shared sheet number 1, okay? The next one is the audit communications letter. Are you all with me?
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a new one. Okay. So this is that they've audited our records and issued a report, which would be, they said, dated the date we approve them. We provided them all the information. We communicated it. Is this the new one, or am I sharing the same thing? No, this is the new one. Significant findings. Responsible for appropriate accounting practices. They have notes on our financial statements. No new policies were adopted, and the application of existing policies has not changed. No transaction entered by the fiscal year for which there was a lack of guidance or consensus. All transactions have been recognized for the period. The most sensitive accounting estimate affecting financial statements related to the monument's estimate of depreciation, which is the expected base of useful lives. They looked at key factors to determine it is reasonable. Let me move this. In relation to the financial statements as a whole, the disclosures, most significant disclosures were noted in number 4, which I will get to, related to party transactions, and number 9, revenue recognition. Transactions disclosures is significant because 74% of our operating revenue is paid by CA. Difficulties encountered in the audit, no significant difficulties. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements. They accumulate all misstatements identified, other than those that are trivial, and communicate them to appropriate level of management, which they did to me. The schedule summarizes uncorrected mistakes in the final statements. Management has determined that their effects are immaterial, both individually and in aggregate, to the statements as a whole. For the purpose of the letter, disagreement with management is a financial, accounting, reporting, or auditing matter. We are pleased to report that no such disagreements arose during the course of our audit. You don't disagree with auditors, I know that. We have requested representatives from management that are included in the management letter, which will be dated today. There was, okay, then these are our statements. This is change in net assets. They had to correct some of our assets between fiscal years. Accounts payable, accrued payroll, that's another thing that we might have put incorrectly at the end of the year. And so they went through it, and the amount that they had to correct through journal entries and redoing our financials was $4,063. And where it says something might have been overstated or understated, it was put into the incorrect fiscal year because of the timing of it. And also I will note that we had a new bookkeeper start at the end of the last fiscal year. So things from the end of FY21 actually had been corrected by the time we got to FY22, because we were working for a year now with the same bookkeeper. They had to adjust certain journal entries, debit one year, one account, and credit another account, based on me showing them invoices where we had maybe put it in the wrong account. So that has all been done by the accountant and the bookkeeper. So that's the next thing. I can share one more. piece of information. Hold on one second. And this one is a draft management letter. Is that what I just shared? No. It talks about what they did, looked at our, giving their opinion on our statements, internal controls. We're limited to what they looked at. A deficiency in internal controls exists when the design or operation does not allow management or employees in the normal course of business of performing their assigned functions, prevent or detect or correct misstatements. Material weakness is a deficiency or combination of deficiencies in their internal control, in our internal controls. We consider the following deficiency in our internal controls: audit adjustment. So these are what they found as a deficiency that we have to correct. During our audit, we identified 2 adjustments to the final financial statements that were not initially identified by the organization's internal control. Under the requirements of standard accounting practices, the identification of any adjusting journal entries by independent auditor is by definition a material weakness in the internal controls. The identified entries identified during the audit were subsequently posted. So that means they identified things and they corrected them as auditors. They said that we do not utilize the accounts payable function in QuickBooks, which means actually since COVID, I will get the invoices in and write the checks, date the checks, process the checks, and then the bookkeeper puts them into the QuickBooks system. But she didn't enter them as a payable because I'd already paid it, but she really needs to enter it as a payable and then she needs to pay them. So it's just another step in QuickBooks. In order to capture expenses in the correct accounting period, she said we changed the checks, and I asked her what that meant, and it wasn't physically changing a check date on a check, it was changing the date that it was entered in QuickBooks. Although this allows the expense to be in the correct period, it would likely change the bank reconciliation, not a best practice. Checks should always be dated the day they are written, which physically they are, but we will change the QuickBooks system. We recommend that the organization utilize the accounts payable function in QuickBooks in order to record expenses in the correct fiscal year. The communication is intended solely for the information and use of management, the board of directors, and others within the association. So those are the 3 pieces of information that the bookkeeper has told me to share with you. And as I said, the one material thing was the accounts payable part of our QuickBooks recording.
So for our material weaknesses, do you have to respond with any kind of remediation plan or key controls or corresponding controls?
No, they haven't told me that. No, it's just that you have read it as a board, you've accepted it, and that we will correct those weaknesses. And it doesn't hurt that I can put that in a letter if the board would like that as a motion.
I think it would be a good idea, not just to put in a response that we're going to correct it, but also to state the controls you're implementing to ensure that we don't have the weakness on the next audit.
Okay. Perfect idea.
And I mean that's easy, right? I mean, for QuickBooks, obviously, one control is just take a second look to make sure the date in QuickBooks and the date on the check are the same date.
Use the accounts payable portion.
Yeah,
of
and use the accounts payable function.
It's just another step.
Yeah, but I mean, usually with auditors, they want to know that if they find a deficiency or a weakness in your internal controls, they want to know, okay, so what new key controls have you developed, or if you have key controls, what corresponding controls are you putting in place to ensure that the key controls are working?
That will be in. I'll put that in it. So it's a lot that I covered. Does anyone have questions? They don't all look so excited.
And I will say, even though these are considered material weaknesses in internal controls, their materiality, they are not really material to the statements. The amounts don't add up to an unclean opinion on our statements, which is good.
No. And a journal entry and a budget of 500,000, more than that, of $4,000 is really very minimal for an audit that is done once every 3 years, to me. And a lot has to do with, we do have an accountant now that we did not have prior. Well, we had her for the last audit, but before that, we just had a bookkeeper doing all of this. So it really is important now that we do have an accountant, because she can speak the same language as the auditors do. So it made it much easier. So I guess what I would need is a motion to what you just said, John, hopefully approve the audit with the condition that we mentioned, the material weaknesses and how we're going to correct them.
So I will motion to accept the draft audit opinion as written, and to authorize a response to the audit opinion that addresses the material weaknesses in our internal controls.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0.
Okay, thank you. And the next exciting thing is our revised, because of the audit, what it reflected with the changes, we had to revise our financial statements. This should be quick, because you already went over them in, let me just share this. Hold on one second. I lost you all. We already went over all of this in the end of in August. So what we had to do, we didn't have to, what we had to do with the audit statement, the bottom line is that what is changed will affect how much we give back to Columbia Association. So instead of what I thought was like 38,000 is now for $40,202. So the $4,000 in journal entries that we went through before in various places added up to our excess cash reserve being $40,202. So basically it is approving the revised FY22 financial statements.
Where is there a motion to approve the review? The motion to approve the revised fiscal 22 financial statements.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion from Jerome. Is there a second? Second from Lynn. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0.
Hold on one second. I have to tell my husband to turn his sound off. Hold on one second. Can you see this new screen share?
Fiscal 23 first quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So these are not revised, actually, because it's the first time I'm showing you them, I'm pretty sure. So the first quarter, we budget for 4 quarters. And when we do that, we take the amount of money that we have approved in our draft, in our budget from that we did in April, and pretty much across the board, we divide it by 4 quarters. Some quarters, we might have more income in 2 of the quarters of the year than others. So we are right now in, I'm going to go to a page where you can see the breakdown better. We are right now in our actual quarter for these statements was May 1 through July 31st of 2022. And this all shows our income. And when you see year-to-date budget, that's the actual is basically what we've spent. So we take CA's annual charge and divide it by 4 quarters. We've spent, that's how much we've gotten in revenue. For room rental and leases, we have exceeded what we ever anticipated this year, and we have $96,157 in revenue. And the budget's going to show that because we're going to budget the first quarter, what we actually did in the first quarter. And so there's not a big variance because that's how we budget it. The biggest income is from leases, is from room rentals of the loft. And there's, the whole other barn. The leases are a lease we have at Talbot Springs for a preschool and Thunder Hill for a preschool. Retained deposit means that there was a rental that was canceled, or there was income that was held back from a renter for some reason. We retained some of the security deposit. Special events is from money that we took in basically from the plant sale that happened in May. And what else did we take in money for? I think that's it, but that's more than, jazz concerts. Yeah, there was a lot of money from jazz concerts, from our May jazz concert. So that's our revenue. And then our expenses, staff salaries, contract labor is our bookkeeper. And when we have our staff set up the chairs in the courtyard for a wedding, that is separate from staff salaries. Payroll, benefits, and taxes. Our cleaning was overall a little more for the year because we have we've had so many rentals that it wear and tear on the building. So that was a little higher than we had anticipated. All of our other costs, you'll see the parentheses, we've spent that much less than we had kind of budgeted or not. There's no surprises here. Our utilities are actually running a little less. I anticipate that will totally change by the end of the year with all the increases in rates and utilities. Repairs and maintenance are pretty much what we would estimate for a quarter of the year. As I said, we just divided in 4, and so we can look at this to see that we're pretty close to a quarter of the year. In some places we have spent less or more. In salaries we spent a little bit less. Property taxes, it's always a calculation, so I'm never quite perfect with that. But the variances that we have to, and this is how we budget by quarter. I'm sorry, it's a little tilted on your page. We take our budget and we divide it by 4. So by the first quarter, we have in revenue $193,350. In our first quarter expenses, we had $137 and $137,000. So we have $56,000 in excess revenue at the end of the first quarter, which is how we want to end up. A lot that I just told you. So does anyone have questions?
I have a dumb question.
Okay, I'll take any kind.
Why do our financials get printed in hard copy and then scanned into PDF instead of printed right to a PDF where they're like searchable and aligned properly and all that fun stuff?
The last page.
All of this, yeah.
No, this is the crooked one because Debbie forgot to include it, and then she just sent it to me today.
Okay.
So I just combined it. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I understand all the numbers. It's just, I just didn't understand.
No, I said to her,
why are we printing them and then scanning them?
I said, you forgot the last page. She said, oh, I'm sorry, here it is. And I wasn't going to tell her it was all crooked. But it's weird because when I went to print it, it came out right on my printer at home. So
there's a way to straighten it in Adobe.
Well, yeah,
I've done it before.
I think I haven't. I think she said, oh, I sent that to you a week ago or something, but I didn't. I just said it's missing. So this is what I got. Yeah. But she actually prepares them and she sends me the PDF electronically and a hard copy, which I haven't been in. So I probably didn't get it in my mail today.
Okay.
And then she also, when I tell her the board has approved it, she then sends the electronic QuickBooks version to CA.
Okay, all right, very
So
good.
they
I
get
just
that to manipulate and do all their calculations.
okay. I don't have any questions about any of the numbers. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, so that was the answer. Anyone have questions? And then we'll need hopefully a motion.
Any other questions? All right, is there a motion to approve the first quarter financials?
I make a motion to approve the first quarter
Okay,
financials.
is there a second? I have a second from Warren. Your hand went blurry there as it went off to the side. All right, any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0, 0. Okay. The
Okay.
financial and operations
Yeah,
and festival update we still
financial, I
have.
think we did enough, but I'll tell you a little bit about the operations and then I'll let Brigitte, who's here, talk about the festival. So the operations, we had a yearly annual walkthrough with CA and pretty much our buildings are in great shape except for some things that they actually need to do. But you know, insulating some pipes, what, Brigitte? It was really very minimal, hardly anything. We're in pretty good shape and went very quickly. My husband's choking in the background. You can probably hear him. So the building, the major things we've had recently in the building, toilets break, which is an expense. Unfortunately, the brand new upstairs door that's electronic. The first week, someone banged a cart into the push bar, so that had to be fixed. One thing is that we have been meeting over the course of the year with CA about the request for a restroom upstairs. And they were originally going to put it in the back of the loft, inside the loft, but towards the elevator end of it. Looking at the elevator end from the silo, it would have been on the right side, which really, it was a concern, not that we don't think it would be a nice thing to have, but it would be like a potty in a ballroom. It was like, it would kind of remind me of a gas station, just plopping a square box in a ballroom. And like, that was a turn off, but we had to go through with it, that was what they said. But in the end, when they came and looked at the sewer lines and everything, they realized that the cost would be ridiculous to take a sewer line from the back of the building where the main sewer connections are in the front of the building without running major pipes through the loft as well. So what they've redone, the design, is to put the bathroom inside the current storage closet, which is not protruding into the room. It's right in the front of the room on the silo side where we store our chairs and tables, so that someone would walk in the room and not see a bathroom right there. So that part's good, but we had nowhere for storage. So then they do have to build on each side of the back of the room two storage closets that will look like walls of the room. But so we're going to lose the number of people we can accommodate, probably going down to about 170, Brigitte, from 200. But the good news is, and it all has to be approved by the CA board. I mean, we've asked for it in our testimony, but that there won't be a bathroom in the middle of the ballroom, basically. So I think that in the end, it's a more livable option. So that has happened. So we signed off on the design. Brigitte met with them while I was gone, and that's what the option they've come up with. So that's it for me, Brigitte.
Don't we have like a sound control panel in that room right
Yeah,
now?
and it can be
what
in there
happens to all
because
that?
that'll be in the outer part still.
Okay,
And then there'll be a door beyond that into the bathroom.
okay.
Right, Brigitte?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So hi, everybody. Because life is always adventurous, of course, we have a hurricane coming up the coast on festival weekend, but what are you gonna do? So everything, I feel like if the weather holds out, it will probably be really one of our most I think one that people really responded to want to be involved in. We have 5 food vendors currently, 3 food trucks, which is the most we've ever had, and really involved. Sometimes getting food trucks is like pulling teeth, but they've really been responsive and are excited. If it does, the weather doesn't hold out, and we're going to make a decision on Friday afternoon whether or not we're going to move at least the bulk of it inside, we'll of course let the vendors know. Some of them have opted out, and some of the food vendors, I think a couple of them have opted out if we move it inside. So we won't lose everything. We'll of course make the adjustments, but we have lots of children's activities, the entertainment. We have a children's group as well as 2 other groups. And Stevens Forest PTA will be there, as well as Talbot Springs PTA. They'll be there as well. The high school band is planning on performing once again to open it up. If it should downpour, they said that they would not play, but if it's slightly raining, they'll still plan on playing out front, even if we do move it inside. So I'm just kind of in the last part of it, making the maps. I meet with CA tomorrow to figure out the final layout and work with them on their part. But you can never control the weather, so I have a good weather plan and a rain weather plan, and of course, with all the volunteers and all the helpers, we'll make it all work. So I'm really looking forward to it. We bought new festival signs. I don't know if you saw them around the neighborhood. Since normally that's Sandy and my little trip out, but my husband was graciously enough to drive me around and go off-roading with me so I could deliver all the signs, since Sandy wasn't able to help this year. But so they're all out there, and I think I'm hopeful that rain or no rain, we'll have a good turnout. So.
And Brigida, so
Yes.
I want to, Brigida wears many hats, but I want to thank her for the past 2 months and one more to go of weddings and other rentals Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of every weekend. And that is a major feat on her part. So you can say a little bit of what's gone on with that.
Yes. So September, we were booked Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And a lot of weddings where it was the whole kit and caboodle, where they had the ceremony, they had the cocktail hour, and they had the full reception. And a lot of decorations, a lot of coordination. I will tell you, September is quite always a busy month at the other barn for those 2 positions, but this this year it seemed even crazier. I will say that I don't know if it's because of after COVID. I don't know. I don't really know what the reasoning is, but I will tell you that the rentals are more intense than I feel like they've been there, at least during my time as the facility coordinator. And by intense, I mean just everybody wants to come through and meet. Everybody wants a personal discussion. I mean, caterer, DJ, and it's good. It just means a lot of coming in, setting up appointments, walking through with them. And I do try to take it's kind of a fun game when they're asking me every question to see if I can stay one step ahead of them with their million of questions. But so far I've done pretty good. But yes, and I want to thank all of our weekend staff people, because they have been phenomenal. They've been put up against some pretty interesting situations, and they've all handled it with lovely grace. So
yeah, it's amazing. And they've worked every single weekend, some of them. Like,
yes,
sometimes because of schedules, they've worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Sunday. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, and even we have a couple of new people, and they've just like stepped right in, and it's like they've been there. So it's really been helpful. And of course, I get a text here and there with some random question, but for the most part, it's been really we found some good people again to go along with the people we had, and so it's been nice.
All right, I think that's it for us. I just want to make sure that Brigida covered her event hat and her facility hat. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much. By the way, I looked at the hour by hour, overcast till about 10:30 or 11, and then light rain until about 2 or 2:30. So
Yeah.
hopefully the band will perform and people will still be willing to line up at the food trucks in a little bit of a drizzle.
Yeah, I feel like because we have to decide unless it totally changes, I can be comfortable with saying that we have entertainment in the courtyard, food out front, and vendors inside, because it's harder to move vendors inside when it starts to rain. We need to have that set up ahead of time and they need to know, but the music we can work with easier.
Okay.
Right, Brigida?
Yes, yeah, there's definitely flexibility when it comes to the food vendors, and the food vendors have been wonderful. Like they said, we'll do whichever you want. And then the entertainment, same thing. So like Sandy said, it's just the vendors that kind of need a decision, because they're the ones who have to carry their items up the stairs and set everything up.
We also ordered plenty of masks. Masks are optional, but welcome and encouraged. And we also are having the vendors, if they don't want to be inside, they're getting their money back. And if they are inside, they have to sign a COVID release waiver that CA gave us like 2 years ago, that we have our renters sign, releasing us from liability. Any people that come, festival goers, they're on their own. They're choosing to come. But we did want that release for the vendors. And so far, that's all been fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
All right, let's go to our committees. Lynn?
Nothing from me.
All right.
Can
Education.
I do more?
No.
For I just want to thank Karina, who's not here. You'll notice Sam Smart was painted and
Yes.
fixed up. And that was another monumental effort on her part. And also Pizza Man is working towards improving the outside of their place. Not that they don't maintain the landscaping part, but all the other little things that we've noted. So they're working with us, and we are very well aware that vacant lot is not mowed. So we are not ignoring any of those community issues.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Well, that's a good segue into architecture.
And I just can say thank you to Karina and to Sandy, and also Mike Vaughn. I mean, everything is clicking along really, really nicely. So good to have a good team working on all of this.
All right, education, the committee did meet tonight before the board meeting for about 50 minutes. We talked about all the stuff I told you in less than 10 minutes, but it took us 50 minutes to get through it. Basically, we talked about the capital improvement program and, next steps depending on what the board does and what we can do in terms of contacting the board individually between now and the vote Thursday. Warren, public space.
Warren.
I think he's trying to get unmuted. Oh, you had it for
There
a
we
second.
go.
There you go.
So I don't have much. We didn't meet, but tomorrow, Chris Etoff has arranged a bike ride on the new Oakland Mills bike lane. That's pretty exciting. So that's tomorrow at 8 o'clock. So I'll have to get up early. But that'll be fun. The other thing is at the bike corral, we have that all planned. And but if it rains, if Brigida says we're going inside, we decided that we won't have the bike corral, because who wants to ride in the rain? So that's about all I got. Thank you, Brigida.
But the bike for kids, that'll still be there, even if it rains and stuff.
The what?
The bike for kids, whatever. Am I saying it right? Free bikes for kids.
Oh, the donation?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I know you can take him, you can always take them to a fire hall. There's fire halls around that have that.
Warren, are you sure there's nothing else you want to share?
The famous Warren Wortman.
You don't want to share this?
Yay.
Somebody told me about that. I couldn't find it.
Well, I put it all over our Facebook pages, so you can just go look there.
No, I don't do Facebook. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
well, you're popular.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
That's a good picture.
Warren, can you hear me?
Yes.
I know we didn't talk about this yet, but we did advertise having people bring bike donations for free bikes for kids. Even if it's raining, I could just bring the trailer and park it in the parking lot there to have a drop-off spot
Okay.
and then take them over to, and we'll find out where he wants us to take them. But
They said they'll pick them up. I can send a note to Ted and do it that. I'll let him know that we'll be there.
okay,
Thank you.
That sounds great.
So-
Thanks,
so
Rebecca.
we'll keep that part on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Well, we are on to the bulletin board. Amy, do you have anything?
I don't think so.
Okay, Sandy.
Not that I haven't said. No.
All right, Warren,
Nothing.
Rebecca.
Yeah, just also for this weekend, Yards Alive has been really busy preparing all of our plants because we'll have our biannual, I believe would be the correct term, biannual native plant giveaway. We're really disappointed if it rains. Brigida said there's no place for us inside, so we're scrambling because I don't know what we're going to do. We have tons of people coming to get plants and counting on us being there. So we're pretty disappointed by that, by not having alternatives. So yeah, we're trying to figure that out, I guess. So if anybody has any ideas, please let us know. We were told we can't have tents outside anywhere, or so we're yeah, maybe Sandy, we can talk tomorrow.
Yeah,
But we have hundreds of plants to give away. So
Brigida, I'm saying this out loud, and we didn't talk about that. I don't know what the wind will be, but I don't know if CA could put up any tents outside for the Yards Alive, even if it rains.
I meet with CA tomorrow. I can
Yeah.
ask them. It's mostly that with the carpet and everything downstairs, having the plants inside and having a rental the next day, it's just not possible. But I can certainly ask CA when I meet with them tomorrow if we do have some adjustments, if they could put up a couple tents like right outside where you typically are at the festival, kind of in that same general area.
that would be totally fine. Anything, we would be happy with anything, right? I sent an email to the new village center owners just asking, can we hide out under the awning in front of LA Mart or somewhere nearby, just so that we can redirect everybody in the rain to come to us still.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not windy and you don't care if you're in the rain, and CA will put up like 2 tents in that area,
That would be totally fine. Yeah.
I think that could be a doable thing. And also we gave Megan the contact information for the farmers market, because that's independent of us, even though we help them get the space there. So I hopefully that she can write to them and say that we supported that, even in addition to whatever we can do for the festival. I think that would be a really good thing. But yeah, I mean, if it's safe to have tents outside and you don't mind the rain, I'm perfectly good with that.
Awesome. All right. Well, then we'll touch base tomorrow after Brigida has her CA meeting. Then the other side of that is also the Bowl finally did their planting this past week. So their cul-de-sac is freshly planted. I mean, they don't have tons of plants yet because it's a work in progress, but they've started So next weekend, they're doing some more planting, and then we can call the cul-de-sac program for this year to a conclusion. That's all.
All
Okay.
right, thank you. Jerome,
I've got a question. Who handles carcass removal? I came home from work and I saw on Wandering Way, there was a deer hit. And they moved it over to the side, I guess, on county land. But if it's still there tomorrow, who?
Animal
See-Click
control.
Fix. Well, See-Click Fix. If you report it through See-Click Fix, Animal Control will get it.
Can just email me the name and number when you
cclickfix.com.
cclickfix.com. Okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
there's a pull down for animal control.
Okay.
And you might have to register, but it's good to be registered there. And you actually pinpoint the exact location and address.
Okay.
I just put the link in the chat. That'll take you right to
thank
the
you.
Howard County version of it, so you don't have to search for your jurisdiction.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. And by the way, so Animal Control, I think they'll pick up deer, dogs, and cats, but nothing else. I learned that the hard way once when a fox died in my front yard. I called Animal Control. This is before See-Click Fix to ask what I should do. And they said, put it out with your garbage.
Oh.
I said,
Really?
it's several days before garbage collection. And they said, put it out with your garbage. We only pick up deers, dogs, and cats.
That's
They don't-
unsanitary, but okay.
Do they don't clean up like roadkill? Because I'll say somebody in my household hit a squirrel the other day, and then we went back out the next morning and it was gone.
The turkey vultures take care of the
Yeah,
squirrels.
someone else might have cleaned it
I
up
mean,
for them.
there was no evidence of it. It was gone.
It was probably very tasty. I don't know, unless, they're driving around and someone sees it and throws it in the back of their truck. I have no idea. It's hard enough for them to come and get the big deer, sadly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was strange because I don't know what it is with my house and foxes, but when we had the dead fox, they said nope. If it's dead, put it out with your trash. We only do deer, dogs, and cats.
Uh-huh.
But when I had a dying fox in my yard, they verified with me 3 times that it was indeed dying and not dead. And I'm like, well, it looks like it's still barely breathing, but I think it is. And they actually wanted me to go up to it and see if I could get it to move. I
Oh,
said,
that's lovely.
I thought the last thing you're supposed to do with an injured wild animal is go up and poke at it. I'm not doing that. But they sent this rather annoyed woman out, and she verified that it was still alive, and she took it, and I'm sure they put it down when they got back to the facility. But yeah, if it were already dead again, they were going to tell me to put it out with the trash. And they actually wanted me to go out there and poke it. And I said, I'm not poking a sick fox.
Well, we had a dead deer in our yard a couple of years ago and nobody would come and do anything. And
What'd you do?
we had to pay to have it removed.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you can't put a deer in your garbage.
No. Well, never mind.
That's
Yeah.
terrible. That's terrible. I would have dragged it into the street and said, okay, now there's a dead deer in the street.
Or we're dragging it into the open space.
But I wouldn't
Yeah.
even want to get near any animal like
Yeah,
that. That was-
right, exactly. You don't know.
Lynn, we may as well move on to you at this point.
That's my bulletin board.
Sandy, did I already call you? I can't remember now.
Mhm.
All right. For me, I still need to respond about that request that we co-host that speaker on covenants. I got distracted with other things. So based on all the feedback from the board, I'm going to respond and say thank you for asking, but we feel that if this is a Columbia-wide event, it should be coordinated with all villages or coordinated by the Columbia Association, because first of all, we don't know this speaker. And normally when we sponsor an event, it's either an event that we wholly plan or an event where we know exactly what's going to be happen because we're intimately involved. And if it truly is Columbia wide, I'm just not comfortable with saying 2 of 10 villages are sponsoring this, especially when every village has its own unique covenants and its own unique enforcement process and compliance process. And, you know, really the only thing that ties it all together potentially is CA, because they take the legal cases. So that's, that seems to be where we've landed with all this, even though there could be some items of value in it. It doesn't seem like the right way of going at this.
Great.
Agree.
Okay. All right. Unless there's anything else, and we're out of agenda, so I'm hoping there's not because it's early. I think we can call this adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.